Hey, it's MK, and I am here for a Follow a Sketch February layout for you guys. I have this sketch right here. It is sketch number 47 by Susan Stringfellow. I love her sketches. It was for sketchsavvy.blogspot.com if you want to go check out, see what other sketches they have. So I'm going to be using another Ginger Snap page kit that I had put together back in November for Kit Conspiracy. If you're interested in seeing how I picked out all these items for this page kit, I have a video of where I picked out all of my page kits and whatnot if you're interested. So I'm just sharing with you guys all the photos that I would like to add to this layout, even though this is only a one photo layout. Layouts like this are really super simple because I can take all those photos, all those 4x6 photos, and actually trim them down pretty small, about 2x2s, maybe 2.5 by 2.5s, and make another grid, making it look like it's one single large photo. So that's what I'm going to try to do at the start, but it doesn't end up doing that or becoming that. So for this layout, I have more packaging. I don't know why I do that. And then I also have a bunch of these pieces from the Potpourri kit that is part of the Ginger Snap collection. Ginger Snap is a collection by Pretty Little Studio, and it was a very, very pretty fall layout, but I was able to get so many other types of layouts out of this collection, even though they were shot in the fall, they weren't really fall related, if that makes any sense. Like these photos here are still some more metal detecting photos, but I really do like how this layout turns out. I love a good grid paper like this, where you can take an entire pattern piece of paper and chop it up and then put it together with gaps in it. It's one of my favorite styles of layouts. Or you put it back together with no gaps, but you scuff up all the edges and you have that quilted, what's it called? Rag quilt look, I think is what it's called. So anyways, I'm just sharing with you guys that I plan on cutting up this entire beautiful piece of paper for my grid on the layout. And then instead of using a ribbon of sorts, I'm going to use this banner that came in the banner collection for the Potpourri kit. And that's where all the colors came from, even though I pulled in most of the purple colors or the periwinkle colors. I didn't pull in every single color, but every single color is represented in this beautiful pattern paper. This was one of my favorite patterns, and I did actually have a hard time using it until I came across this sketch. And then I knew that this piece of paper had to be used for this sketch, because this is one of those types of papers that is exactly for this type of sketch, because then you still get to appreciate the beauty of this paper, but you're still cutting it up and using the paper. Now I will have a good section of this paper left over for later use somewhere else. So I'm going to cut out a lot of this because it's a bunch of repetition. So the first thing I did was cut my rectangles, and I think they're about 1 1/4, and now I'm cutting them almost at 2 inches. Maybe even a little more, 2 1/8, somewhere in there. So it's, like I said, it's very, very repetitive. So I'm not really going to share with you guys how I do all of it. I'm just going to show you guys how I started off. So I've cut my papers in strips. Now I'm cutting them in rectangles, and then I'm going to trim down my photos. Again, I had 5 photos, very repetitious. I cut them all to the same size, all of them at 2 and some odd, 2 1/4, maybe even only 2 inches. I don't really remember. And then I pulled out this beautiful paper by Close to My Hearts called Bluebell. It is beautiful, you guys, and it goes with a lot of collections that I saw last year, and that's why I had to pick up some of these pieces of cardstock, because they were the perfect addition to a couple of collections that were released last year, if you happen to have any more of those collections. I have been definitely getting into the mood of using my stuff for real, you guys. I do not like anymore. I used to hold on to things for about a year before I actually started using them, because in my brain, I bought it for something that we did that year that I bought it, right? Or something that we're going to go do. But then I always a year behind in the albums I'm working with. So I have to wait a year before I can use it. And I finally got out of that. It's not a mentality, but I finally got out of that phase to where I just want to use things right now. Like as soon as it comes into my craft room, I want to rip it open and start using it. And I have to say that that was thanks to Kit Conspiracy, because Kit Conspiracy is where we buy a kit that either just came out or is coming out or something to that effect. It's a newer kit. Actually, it started out with what we had in our stash, and then we realized that was going to be too hard for us to, because Janet and I don't always have the exact same things in our stash. And her stash is a lot bigger than mine is. I'm sorry, Janet, but I think it is. Yeah, it just was one of those things where, we started off with our stash, and then we decided let's pick some newer kits and play with them and give people inspiration with those kits that we don't normally see when we go search for them on Pinterest. All you see, honestly, is the design team. And the design team, and there's nothing wrong with the design team, but the design team is usually used for showing you what all the products can do together. And if you only buy a little bit, then that doesn't really help unless you buy the whole thing, right? So that was one of the things that we wanted to do. And ever since we started doing that, it has given me a new light to want to use all my stuff right now. Like I no longer want to hoard anything. All right, so I have scuffed up my printed paper. I have mounted it onto this beautiful periwinkle. I have glued it to my white cardstock. I have matted my photos, and I have figured out how I want my photos to go on the layout. And I decided, instead of doing a grid, because I really didn't like the grid, that I am going to have them go straight up, and then I'm going to have one of them go off to the side where the banner piece is. So that way it kind of finishes off that banner piece going all the way across down there at the bottom of my layout, just like the ribbon does in the sketch. So something like that. It makes sense in my brain as to why I am doing something like that. But I did take and put little foam dots all over my banner piece so it pops up, because when I sketch something out, when I scuff up the edges on something, it does give a little lift of the paper. And so I have all those edges that I have to account for, and then all my pieces are going to go wonky. Now, sometimes I like that, especially for rugged outdoor ones. I don't mind all my pieces being rugged like that. But for this case, I really didn't. I wanted everything to lay nice and flat and smooth, but yet still have that texture of the scuffed up edges. So I also had to add foam behind only half of my photos, because the other half is going to be on the scuffed up edge part of my pattern paper. And then I'm taking all these paper strips that I cut out previously. I'm taking all those, I scuffed up the edges too, just so they matched the rest of the layout. And then I'm creating another border to draw attention to that last photo. I really felt like you couldn't see it because it is a far away photo. I just didn't want to keep picking up every single bottle cap and take pictures of every single bottle cap, because that was what we mostly found while we were metal detecting, was all the different styles of bottle caps, mostly beer, but all the different styles. And then of course I have one little pellet right there. That is actually a weight for a fishing lure. So we found one of those as well, but 4 of the photos out of 5 are bottle caps. So I'm just taking my finger and scuffing up the edges of all my leaves. I like doing this too because it gives my leaf some body, but it doesn't give it a lot of dimension. So if you really like flat layouts, this is definitely something I suggest that you try, is to just scuff the edges a little bit for all of your embellishments and things. And then it just gives it that small lift, like a curled leaf, but not too much to where you have to get a lot of foam and your pages are becoming super thick. So I just really, I honestly, I really like adding adding it because it gives a dimension to otherwise a flat layer on your layout. And here, the only thing that I'm really bringing in that's dimensional is a flare and a bottle cap. And I actually am putting the real bottle cap that my kids and I saved that right across from its photo. So I know I'm using the same bottle cap, but I really liked the design of that bottle cap, and I've never heard of that brand before. All the other brands I've heard of. So I wasn't really interested in keeping those. Plus, if they were too dirty, too scuffed, or something like that to where I couldn't clean it as well as I could this one, then I definitely wasn't interested in keeping it for my scrapbook. And therefore just not keeping it at all. So anyways, going to go ahead and finish off attaching all of these goodies. So I've got some tear and tape going on for my bottle cap as well as on my brad. Now I'm covering up a really dark spot that kind of stuck out a lot in my vision on the banner piece. And so I just put my bottle cap over the top of it so that way it wasn't really visible anymore, because it really did. It was just a really dark spot. More of a maroon than it was of all these beautiful purples. I actually really like this purple color. It's more of like a periwinkle. I know I've said that before, but so which makes it kind of more like a blue. But I have a cute little heart. Now, the only thing I didn't use was the periwinkle little banner piece. I didn't know where to put it, and it wasn't the same size as the banner that I'm using. So I couldn't add it to the banner and change that color using that. So I opted just not to use it and put it on my little tray, as well as a little stamp, I think, too. So I'm going to go ahead and add some journaling, and it's basically just saying what I said was the fact that we mostly found bottle caps, other than, you know, a couple of the other things that I took pictures of. And that was, you know, pretty much our metal detecting adventure that we went on. It was super fun, super windy. It was a little chilly. And so, yeah, the kids were taking turns hiding in this little crook of a tree. I thought it was cute. And I only took a picture of Kyrie because she was the only one that actually fit in the crook, and Gabe could only kind of fit like halfway, but he still kept pretty warm. All right, you guys, so that is my last layout for Follow a Sketch February. I look forward to seeing you all in March for 30 days of sketches. If you're interested in checking out all of the sketches, don't forget to check out the links down below. I have a playlist link, Facebook links, and then of course my own personal link. So anyways, don't forget to check them out if you are interested. All right, you guys, thank you so much, and I'll check y'all later. Bye.